What is happening here? This is downtown Austin, Texas. Quite a place to begin a road trip. Kind of depressing place to begin, but here we are. If you haven't been paying attention, Austin was the MVP of our big cities for a long time. Everyone wanted to come here. Companies, families, druggies, bums. Well, they came all right. I'd heard about how the cracks were starting here. Suddenly, Austin maybe wasn't so wonderful anymore. And I was like, you know what? What a perfect place to begin a road trip in Texas. I like hearing about how places change. And you guys like to watch bad stuff. Sounded like a good jumping off point to me. We landed in Austin in the last week of October of 2023. We spent a month driving around this state to see how places have changed. We saw stories of growth and retraction and experienced a lot of today's Texas. And my favorite part was we got to see a lot of old Texas too. Well, howdy. I guess you're happy to see me again. Last time we met, I was in Idaho. Well, hell, this is a lot different than that. Right now, we're in Austin, Texas, mister. This is the first stop on a long trip through the biggest state. Hell, the best state. We're going to saddle up here and visit every corner of this territory. Right now, we're in the capital of the Lone Star State. But looking around, you could say we ain't even in Texas yet. That's the big Tesla factory. That building's 10 million square feet. And it's 100 football fields big. It's the second biggest building in the world. Bigger than every building on Earth, except the Boeing factory in Seattle. It was $770 million just to expand the damn thing. I asked if I could go inside and take a look, and they were like, no. But it's okay. I can see from here that it's a big deal. Look at all the cars out front. They're not Teslas, though. You'd think he'd make all his employees buy his cars, but he doesn't. Some say Tesla is the big reason Austin is such a racket now. This new factory helped to drive up the home prices, and a lot of the workers, they're not locals. Even the local rag isn't a fan of all Elon's hijinks. I'm surprised he didn't sue him for that. And Elon Musk says one day he wants to build his own town not too far from here. All this new growth in Texas just keeps going and going, doesn't it? Austin, Texas. Or just Austin. It's kind of not Texas here. It hasn't been like the rest of the state for a long time. Travis County was always this left-leaning little blue dot in the state. Keep Austin weird, everyone said. Now it's full-fledged liberal far left as you can get, crazy land. Now I'm going to show you the good stuff in Austin, because there's a lot of that. But we're going to begin this by talking about the bad stuff, because I got to keep your attention spanned. Where I'm driving right now is one of Austin's worst neighborhoods.
I said like 3-4 years ago, this was the most drug-plagued street in the city.
The guy talking's my buddy Jeff. He's an Austin police officer. We drove around together one day when I was here, and he showed me around the bad sides of town.
Violent. Worked a shooting here a couple years back. Felt bad, to a degree, because a woman got shot in the head by, two of her older kids were gangbangers. She was just living with her boyfriend and their son at the time. And the older kid, I guess, who they wanted to get was in jail, so they couldn't get to him. And, we'll just put a bullet in your mom, and did it in front of her 12-year-old son.
Now, I can say almost all the bad areas I saw in Austin were not that bad. I mean, I've seen far, far worse. But they've changed a lot, and they ain't getting any better anytime soon. Half of Austin's neighborhoods that people who live here don't even want to admit exist, or even know about. Crime and drugs and homelessness have really gone up a lot in Austin. Why? Because they did it to themselves. They defunded their police 3 years ago, and 80% of the city supported that, if you can believe it. And then they were like, oh shit, what did we just do? And then they refunded them. But the damage had been done here. There's 4 times more murders in Austin than there were back in the day. A ton of Austin cops just quit. And not just quit being cops in Austin, like quit copying forever. So they're just massively understaffed here. They need about 1,000 more cops here to make this place normal again. Other APD officers have been poached by other counties. They're like, come over here and be a cop. We'll pay you more. You don't have to deal with all that Austin BS. Things are so bad here now that the governor sent Texas state troopers down here to lay down the law. So everywhere you go downtown now, you see these groups of armed men and women standing around. I guess that makes you feel safe. I don't know. But look at this. They're just walking around with AR-15s downtown. Like we're in a damn foreign country. For the Austin police officers that stayed, morale's down. I mean, when the DA doesn't prosecute criminals that shoot you, well, you're not happy about that.
20 streets for 11 years. It's hard to believe.
Has it gotten worse?
Oh yeah, it's gotten infinitely worse in a lot of ways. That's with us, and more than one occasion I had people look at me like, I had no idea this part of Austin existed.
Yeah.
Right, because it's not a place that you go. It's what you want to pretend doesn't exist.
They just let them right back out.
That's what I tell people. I said, look, man, is police have become the Band-Aid of society. We're dealing with the mental health, we're dealing with criminals, we're dealing with the homeless, we're dealing with all these things. And even when we do our jobs and we're arresting people, we're taking people to jail. The system is putting them back on the streets before we're finished writing the PC affidavit and the report. And are the police the problem, or are these judges and these DAs the problem?
Only about 1 in 5 Austinites actually takes part in the local elections. The DA here was elected by only 62,000 people in a county of 2 million. And most of the people involved are awfuls. That's affluent, white, female liberals. That's not my term. That's their term. Don't get mad at me about that. And did you guys know that Austin tried to elect a cross-dressing homeless guy for mayor once? It's true. And then there's this guy, Chaz Moore. He just got a key to the city. He's an activist with a felony record who believes that nobody should be in jail. Nobody, for nothing. I believe we can get to a place where we don't have police and where there's no prisons, he said. And then they made October 22nd Chaz Moore Day. What is happening in Austin? The people who moved here, who act like Austin's la la land, are in denial. They just don't want to admit what's happening. You can't call your cool friends back in LA and tell them that the place you moved to is turning into the place you left. Can ya? Where's Austin headed at this rate? Because it was a wonderful place. Everyone was like, Austin's great. And now all I hear about is people saying Austin's ruined.
Well, a lot of people look at Austin the way that Austin was, in the 80s and 90s, and it was a completely different place. Like, I never lived here. I don't know what the vibe was. When I got here in 2012, people said Austin was dead then. Oh, we miss old Austin. And it's a complete 180 from what it was even then. And it's slid further to the left, the radical left politically. And it's growing. Like, there's just so many people here. And I think a lot of people are coming here expecting to have it be this utopia. And it's not. It's far from a utopia. It's extremely expensive. Housing prices, rent prices, everything's out of control here. And I think people move here and they think it's going to be one big 27 or 24/7 party. Like, it's ACL all the year, all South by Southwest, all the time. That's not the case at all.
That's Jeff. That's the Austin police officer who showed me around when I was here. We'll hear more from Jeff later. And now, this is Cleo. She's one of the founders of Save Austin Now, a volunteer group of citizens that wants to, save Austin now.
We had homeless people under bridges in sweltering heat without access to water, without access to toilets. We saw, barbecue pits, open air drug use, prostitution, next to elementary schools in underserved areas. And that's why I got involved, is because I was noticing that the poorest communities, underserved areas, were the ones that were being overwhelmed because they do not have the political connections or wherewithal to call their council members, say, hey, what's going on here? This is not safe for my neighborhood. My kids aren't able to access their park or walk to school. What's happening? So I became their basic spokesperson because I grew up in communities like that. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me whether you're left, right, or anything in the middle. What matters to me is that we improve the quality of life for all people here in Austin.
We'll also hear more from Cleo later, too. Stick around for that. Now, I have an entire video about how bad the homeless problem is here now. You should watch that. But I can say, after driving around for 4 days, there were bums all over the place. And people told me, shit, this is nothing, Nick. You should have seen this a year ago. This is good compared to back then. So, this is good, I guess. A lot of people don't want to come to downtown anymore. It's shady down here. There's shootings and stabbings. The place smells like piss. There's yelling. It's just really not enjoyable to be down here anymore. And keep in mind, this was the best place to live in America for years back before COVID. But Austin dropped once again on the best places to live list. One guy just told Fox News, we were the best place to live. Now we're turning into Detroit and Seattle. What? It's not that bad here.
Did you know Texas got called the second worst place to live?
What in tarnation, Mappy? Not my Texas, damn it. This is where my people were born and raised. Back when we were tots, if we didn't work hard, we didn't eat. And now they're handing out big stacks of bread so folks can go out and buy whiskey and women. It ain't fair. It ain't right. And it ain't American.
Maybe Elon Musk will figure out a way to send these people to space.
Now, despite all this shitty stuff going on here, there's a lot of good. Downtown Austin's still fun. There's lots of culture. There's a lot of energy down here. They got a bunch of high-paying jobs and innovation. Google, Apple, Oracle, Tesla, that sort of stuff. And remember, this is home to Texas Instruments and Motorola. There was a lot of buzz about this place some years ago. People were saying Austin's the new Silicon Valley. It took San Francisco 40 years to become a tech hub, and this place was taking half that. I read somewhere that 80% of this downtown's been built in the last 15 years. But there's a lot of people that moved here for the tech scene, and they were kind of like, this is a little less techy and booming than we were told. And now driving around, you're starting to see a lot more vacant downtown. Austin has the third highest vacancy rate in the nation. That's not good. Building condos makes sense down here. And apparently, building business space does not anymore. There's construction everywhere here. Now, I'm not from Austin, but I'd imagine the old timers would say that they're taking away the funky weird and they're making it all flashy like Dallas. Because it seemed like every corner in downtown there was something going on. Some new buildings, they were fixing up old buildings. The gentrification and sterilization of Austin is in full force now. Like, check this out. This is Rainy Street. It's always been one of the coolest little pockets in downtown. It's a whole street of funky restaurants and bars and stuff. Well, not anymore. Look at this. They're literally building up and around all the old stuff. Or they're just tearing this all down completely. It's loud. Even Rainy Street? My driver, who also happens to be my best friend, she and I went down to one of the bars on Rainy Street. But it was hard to chillax with all the construction everywhere. One of the bartenders told me that Rainy is going to be one of the most densely populated neighborhoods in Texas once it's done. 7,000 new units and more to come. Downtown Austin's struggling now, though. A lot of people work from home, so they don't have to come down here and deal with bums and all the new crime. Seems like the soft, hipster tech bros don't want to step in bum poop, even though they voted for it. Somebody I know who lives here said, "Nick, Austin doesn't feel like Austin anymore. It feels like just any other big city now. It's all being replaced by soulless businesses paid for by groups of investors. Everything's getting chicified." That sucks. I'm going to show you some of the nicer neighborhoods now. We looked at the bad stuff already. There's fancy neighborhoods all over Austin. This one here we're in is called Tarrytown. And these homes are expensive. Let me tell you that. This whole area was moderately priced for a long time, but not anymore. A lot of what you're seeing now is in the $2 to $3 million range. Welcome to today's America, right? If you want to move here and you're middle class, well, you can't move here. Where we are now has become the third most unaffordable county in the country. Well, I mean, there's plenty of affordable in Austin. It's just that you can't afford it. You don't deserve to live here. It's more than $500K for a home now. And the average salary here is only $60K. Most of these people are just fine, though. The ones that got in. Their home prices have gone up 40% in 4 years. Back in 2010, This place was kinda big. But now people say it feels like it's getting as big as Dallas. 280,000 people have moved to Austin since 2017. There's going to be 1 million people here by the time you watch this. Maybe. And boy, did this place boom during COVID. Everybody wanted to come here. It was like white flight from the 60s. Except instead of white people fleeing black neighborhoods, it's West Coast people fleeing high costs and bums. They did a poll here not too long ago, including all the new people who were here. And Texas people were like, too many people now. Too much. Some say Austin's the new California. I heard there's realtors here that call it Califreakia. Some realtors have just stopped answering their calls from California area codes. And by the way, if you still want to move here after all this, I do know a lot of realtors in the area that I can connect you to. So email me. Links in the bio. I think the only good home price news here is that maybe this place was a victim of its own popularity. Home prices here are down 10% since the peak. That's the biggest housing crash in the country. And homes here sit on the market way longer now. And it was just announced that Austin had the 5th highest number of people leaving. That's just nuts. What a turnaround, right? I mean, Grant Cardone, the rich financial investor guy, he said there's only 2 real estate markets he wouldn't touch. It's Seattle and here. And both are tech hubs ruined by high home prices and bums. And housing speculators. And Airbnb. And foreign investors. Check this thing out. The Domain. My God. I can't leave the nice part of town and not talk about the Domain. It's their super duper modern outdoor mall on the north end of town. Totally over the top. But there's this all over Austin now. New and fancy stuff like this round every corner. I think the locals here should join up with the people in Montana on a Facebook group so they can both moan and groan together about all this. I'm gonna get this a little bit.
You can book a mobile.
When I was out and about in Austin, well, I think I did more here than I've ever done in a city. There's just so much to do. And we were here for 5 days, damn it. This is the little Longhorn Saloon. Fun, honky-tonky kind of place where you can get some suds and make some new friends. But the reason I'm here isn't for that. I'm here for chicken shit bingo. Yep, you buy some tickets for a few bucks a piece, and then you stand around and you hope the chicken shits on your square. And lots of people turn out for this. There were lines all over the place. There's all kinds of rules, you know that. But remember, when the chicken picks a number, it's in its own chicken picking way. It's actually not as exciting as it sounds. There's a lot of standing around. I mean, it doesn't usually happen very fast. Chickens take their time. A few hundred people watching them poop. Talk about pressure. And then, finally, you get poop. Aw, I didn't win. Close though. She was standing right over my spot with her prairie dogger hanging out for a minute or two.
We're going inside the Broken Spoke and have some honky tonkin'.
There's all sorts of other neighborhoods in Austin that are fun. On the south side's another hood they call South Lamar. It's a bunch of weird, trendy, hip stuff up and down this whole neighborhood. Since I was in Texas, I had to get to a honky tonk, but not just any honky tonk, as I learned. The Broken Spoke, or the Spoke, as they call it. And look at this place. I had no idea what was in store for me that night. Since they had the best chicken fried steak in town, I had to get that. And it was good. Real good. And I sat at table 8, which was fitting since I once rode a bull for 8 seconds. JK. 0.8 seconds, maybe. And look at all these famous people who have performed here. George, Garth, Willie. That's when music was good. That's when music was meaningful. So we were just finishing up supper, and then people started coming in and queuing up. And I was like, what's happening? And then I went to see where everybody was going around the corner into the back of the building and found this. I was like, holy shit, I had no idea that whole back area was even here. I thought the dance hall part was just the front. Jesus. Look at this fucking place. This place is... I had no idea this was back here. I was just having dinner. And there's this giant, huge place. Oh my God. And that stage right there. All these Texans gussied up and all. I was so jelly of their fits. If I didn't have a month ahead of me, I'd have two-stepped and boot-scooted boogied all over that joint. But I had to be an adult and get my responsible ass back to the hotel and all. But wow, the Broken Spoke, the last of the true Texas dance halls, where you can get away from Austin and back in time to real Texas. Old Texas. And looking back, I think that was about as real old school Texas as I saw in the entire trip. And I'm sad about that. They even got a trough to piss in. That's real Texas right there, isn't it? Now, after that chicken shit night, we went to Woodrow's to hang out. They didn't have food, but no biggie. They said just go next door and get you some tacos. One taco. But you can't just get one. This place is the shit. But just look at that. Wow. I mean, I didn't have a bad taco the entire time I was in Austin. I think that's kind of impossible. Oh man, they got all the famous artists up in here, including Jose and Lucerito. What? Lucerito? Dang. Oh my God, best tacos I've ever had. I said a lot of that on this trip. I sure did eat my way across Austin when we were here. I mean, the food trucks. They are a big deal here, mister. I think the food trucks have better food than the brick and mortars do. And check this place out. Granny's came highly recommended. And it was just one random place we picked out of like 100. And this is how they do it here. And they do it right. It was so good. My God, how do these people do it? And how does everybody here not get fat on tacos? I would. As soon as we got off the plane, we were greeted by the smell of beans. There's Mexican food everywhere here. Pueblo Viejo, tacos de trompo, breakfast tacos at the coffee shops. There's even taquerias in the car wash place. Asadas came highly recommended. Place was kind of too fancy for my tastes. But look at this food. Taco Tuesday for the win. It wasn't just all Mexican food, though. I ate other things. Come on now. One day for lunch, I chose Stubbs because people told me I needed to. Just a simple place, really. No frills. Just the way I like it. And the whole back area behind Stubbs really goes off. Look at this joint.
Stubbs with the giant stage for music. And all the cool bars back here.
And that is a meal right there, boy. And a Lone Star. I'd have a lot of those on this trip. I very quickly acquired a taste for their long neck bottles. It's an old Pabst beer that Miller brews now over in Fort Worth. Good stuff. And in case you didn't know, the Lone Star bottle caps have these puzzles that people like to try and solve. I did a lot of solving, but most of them were too hard. Or too hard to read. My God. I know I'm getting older, but I think I need glasses to look at this shit.
Oh my God, this shit's crazy.
Sixth Street came highly hyped. It's their main drag downtown with all the honky tonks and bars and restaurants. And it is off the chain. It's very loud, very in your face, super crowded, and actually pretty dirty. And I wasn't even here on a weekend. And this place is just crazy during the festivals that come into town.
That is a lot of people.
And look at that. The tiniest bar in Texas. Maybe. There's live music all over Austin. I mean, they're the live music capital of the world, damn it. Stevie Ray Vaughan was discovered in Austin. So were a bunch of other people. Willie lived here for a while, back when the Armadillo was the only joint in town. That was real Austin, back when songwriters were funky and refused to follow the crowd. Unlike the music writers in Austin today, they're all woke. This threw me off. Even the airport has live music. Never seen that before. The Austin airport has mini stages with performers. Look at this big stage. At the airport, people. We were here for so long, we had sunny days, dreary days, and super bad stormy days. But that's Texas. God. There was so much other new stuff to see. I mean, I had just got to Texas and my eyes were wide open. As soon as we got to town, we had to go to the H-E-B to get groceries. Now I'm going to show you a lot more on H-E-B when we get to San Antonio next. But this place is a big deal to Texans. And right away I learned You gotta know Spanish here. I was pretty much the only white guy in there. Same thing over at Walmart. Just awful hard to communicate with people. And this is the capital of Texas. But you can feel like a foreigner in your own land. When Jeff and I were looking at the bad sides of Austin, he took me to see the houses where they filmed the hit TV show Friday Night Lights. Yes, folks, that show was based out of Texas, and they filmed a lot of Friday Night Lights here in Austin. And I love that show.
Hey, Coach.
Here's Coach Eric Taylor's house. Looks kind of rough, doesn't it? I don't think Coach Taylor would be happy about this. And then down the road, we saw Tim Riggins' old house. And look, they have a sign up and everything. Downtown, we kept seeing this mobile vape truck with Delta 8 shit in it. In case you don't know, that's pretty much pot. Fake pot vans driving around downtown. And then we saw this. Some upscale mobile bar lounge thing. Never seen one of those before. This was on the nice side of town in the area we saw earlier. You see some cowboy stuff walking around Austin, just to remind you you're in Texas and all. Not as much as I wish I saw, but it was around. But not everyone was dressed up like that, though. This is Austin casual, I guess. So we were just in some random Austin hood, and we came across the famous Cathedral of Junk. It's so big you can see it from down the street. I'm sure the neighbors hate this.
Particular way to go is kind of a maze, so you're gonna have to explore.
Okay.
However, there's a tire staircase in the yellow area, goes to the second story.
Okay.
There's another set of stairs by the refrigerator, goes to the third story. There's pictures in this little shed, kind of a timeline how I got started if you're interested. I've got a donation box right there and bug spray if you need it. And then 3 o'clock, I'm calling it a day.
That's Vince. He's the cathedral's designer. A lot of this crap was donated by people, and he just started making this giant pile out of it, and it grew from there. He started this thing in 1998, and he thinks there's 60 tons of discarded clutter here now. I'll tell you what, it's totally Austin. And the city's sent engineers down here, and they've threatened to tear it down, but they couldn't find a real reason to, since it seems structurally sound. People have parties and weddings and even funerals here. It's weird, but it's Austin. Austin's home to the University of Texas, which is pretty much connected to downtown. It's a pleasant college campus, but I don't think I've ever been to one that wasn't. There's more than 50,000 students here. The campus didn't seem as weird as I thought it would. And that's where the Texas football team plays. They're pretty good. Traffic. Yuck. Traffic is bad here. I feel like I was always sitting in traffic. Look at that traffic. And they have these gonna-be self-driving electric cars all over town. Trying to see if one day we don't need drivers at all. Look at that. Middle of the day, right through downtown. But that's not Texas. Where's the damn big old coal-spewing trucks? Austin's not that bad a place to live. Yet. It's still weird and funky and laid back, and the culture's wonderful. But it's nowhere near as great as it once was. It's expensive and dangerous, gross, and it's lost a lot of itself along the way. People think Austin's this utopia, this smug little place that looks down on Dallas and Houston, like they're better than everyone. Not anymore, they aren't. Now, it's just a normal city that's getting worse. Just another American casualty. Welcome to America, Austin. Everybody came here to get away from expensive and crime and bums. But that's what this place has become. Austin hasn't really been a part of Texas for a long time now. But this is way beyond weird. And if Austin's ruined, and we're seeing this happen in all of our big cities, then is all of America ruined? Austin isn't the first capital of Texas. Some Texans say it might not be the last. Don't mess with Texas. Hell, we're messing with our damn selves. That there's the most iconic state flag of all. Now these days, some folks would say that 1 star is a review.
I'm a Democrat, right? So I'm a mom. I live here in Dallas, born and raised in Texas. And what we have here in Austin and what we see in major cities all across America is far left progressives that have basically undermined local politics, and we've seen them hurt the very communities that they say they care for. My parents are Mexican immigrants. I grew up in an underserved community. My best friend was shot in the back when I was a teenager. Her mom was a prostitute. Like, I grew up in the hood. And one thing that I do not appreciate from these far left activists is pretending like what they're doing is actually helping these communities, which we know these communities have been the breeding ground for violent crime, open air drug use, open camping. They've taken over their parks with illicit behavior, drug activity. I can go on, but because that we have seen, for example, when I talk to elected officials, Democrats, friends of mine, that I either volunteered for campaigns locally or nationally, they'll say, Cleo, I agree with you, but I can't do anything about it. We have to, go with whatever locally is happening. And what we have are DSA, Democrat Socialists of America, radicals, far left progressives that have infiltrated our local politics because regular Austinites aren't really that political, right? Yeah, I have some ways that I feel like I'm more left than most people, but overall, I'm not thinking about politics every day. I'm thinking about raising my family, sending my son to school safely, holding down a job, everything that most Austinites are busy doing, right? We don't have time to go to city council meetings and, virtue signal that, we want rights for the homeless community because of, whatever they feel like they haven't been served. Like, absolutely, there should be a plan for the homeless, and we need homeless community to have services, mental health, drug intervention. But letting that supersede the community and saying that they can do whatever they want, that is not going to get accountability to the homeless community, for example. And so when you have DSA radicals, and especially in college towns like here in Austin with UT, you have a lot of young people that have the time and are highly activated to go to city council meetings. You'll see them, if you download videos, you'll see them every week at the meetings all day long with their signs, talking about, they are talking about issues that most Austinites do not agree with. But unfortunately, most Austinites are busy working or raising families to be a part of the political machine here in Austin. We will continue to see these, loud activists infiltrate our local government. When you think about, again, the dystopian trifecta, defunding the police in 2020, electing prosecutors through the help of George Soros in 2020. These far left prosecutors we've seen them drop cases, release habitual offenders, people who have aggravated sexual assault, release them with several a long offense history to further perpetrate and victimize more community members. And unfortunately, a lot of these community members live in vulnerable communities, like the one I grew up in. Then you have the open camping and the open air drug use that has been rampant across the country. I was thinking earlier that the two things that kind of save us from looking like Seattle, San Francisco, Portland, is that we did not vote for the, $200 you don't prosecute. Like, so we don't have these massive ring of thefts that you see going on that are shutting down businesses across the country and other liberal cities. And we also do not have harm reduction able to use drugs, right? Thankfully, we have, and I say this as a Democrat, that we have a Republican governor and a Republican majority that has reined that in. And in every step, unfortunately, or fortunately for me, where we've defunded the police, the state came back and passed a law that would penalize cities that defunded their police from this point on, and because of that, we were able to return some of the money back, right? And the open camping, we passed a state law, and Matt and I, with Save Austin Now, we passed a citywide camping ban that was voted overwhelmingly by Democrats here in Austin. So as you can tell by these, you see that the majority of Austinites do not support these far left extreme ideas. And it's unfortunate that, people will gaslight you and say, oh, it's not that bad, and, you should, it's just a part of growing in a major city. That's not true. When you look at the homicides in Austin, right? Before defunding the police, we had about an average of 30 homicides a year. To today, we've tripled our homicide rate every year, right? That is astronomical and should be unacceptable. There should be alarm bells going on, right? But they'll say, oh, it's just a part of a growing city. When you look at the curve or the chart for population, right, for Austin, it's going like this, or no, it's going like this, the population for Austin. And now you see the population for the homicides going like this. Like, it isn't because our population is growing, they're not growing together. Right? So obviously there is a huge issue that is not being addressed if we continue to elect far left council members, district attorneys, judges that are not holding habitual offenders accountable, that are not enforcing the law like the camping ban, that are not finding treatment centers, mental health institutionalizing people that need to be institutionalized. We cannot let them continue to devolve out in public, needing drug treatment, needing mental health access, needing proper psychotropic care, and let them just continue to think, okay, they're just going to get better on their own. That's not happening.
Did you ever think Austin would get this way?
No, I wasn't. I'm a Democrat that just got involved in national politics. Like, I just assumed, locally, I would wish it would go back to being boring, right? That I didn't know who our council member was or that the mayor was, right? But now I know exactly who the far left council members are, and unfortunately they are a majority here, and it's hard to pass something, and that is why Matt and I have a Republican and a Democrat have joined forces to really focus on quality of life issues and show this stuff has nothing to do with politics. This has everything to do with the quality of life for everyone, and we need to take politics out of it and say, are these policies making our lives better here? Do you feel safer? Do you feel like your child can go to school and be safe?
So is Austin ruined, or is Austin ruined right now?
Austin is ruined right now, and I think we're at that precipice where it's make or break. And we unfortunately, when you look at other cities like Portland and Seattle, we see where it could go, right? And we have actual visual examples of, like, okay, they've tried this. They've tried the harm, open air drug use, the not prosecuting drugs, not prosecuting theft, for a couple years now. Now we have seen the consequence of that, and we have the opportunity to say, no, we're not going to go in that direction, not only by legislators and our other local officials, but by the electorate, right? We cannot be asleep anymore. And that is what it's going to take. It's going to take examples from you guys in the media to show the real issue here. And it's a good thing when I see, CNN, Fox, others focus in on Austin and what's happening here, because you rightly should. What happens here is happening in all other cities, and that is saving us. And again, like I said earlier, we live in a Republican state. Like the Republican governor this is where he lives. This is where legislators live, where they park their cars, where their cars are broken into, right? You know, they see what's going on here, and a lot of our bills that we helped either testify or were a part of, like the DA, a response to the far left progressive, that if far left progressive district attorneys and city attorneys, if they're not prosecuting crime, not city attorney, if the far left district attorney and county attorney, if they're not prosecuting crime, they can be removed. This passed on bipartisan support because they get it. Like, they can be victims of crime too. Sooner or later, these far left elitists that thought, you know, this was going to be a utopian world where no one is going to have to pay a consequence for their crime, that we can just, you know, let homeless be wherever they want, that there won't be any accountability. Sooner or later, it's going to reach your doorstep. And we're at that point now. And now we will see, now I feel that we will get more people from all walks of life to be more engaged. You know, thankful for your spending time here, because this is what it will take to educate voters, because I'm pretty confident you get all kinds of viewers, you know, not one way or the other, but people that have the ability to use their critical thinking skills and say, hey, 1 + 1 isn't equaling 2. What's going on here? And, you know, that's what it's going to have to take.
You're not going to stop people from moving here. People are still coming here. There's new construction going up all over this city. You saw it driving around. How many new apartment complexes did we see today driving around that just here? You know, all these new construction. That being said, it's, you know, we didn't have recruiting classes for 2 years when they reimagined the academy. You know, after they defunded us, which people don't want to believe happened, it did. They took 1/3 of our budget, and, you know, people dispute that happened. They're adamant that we were never defunded. Well, we were, and you can go back and you can look at Governor Greg Abbott's tweets, you know, in the early part of 2021, where he was basically threatening the city that if you don't refund the police, I'm going to start cutting state funding. You know, it's not going to say that if we were fully staffed or fully funded. So, you know, by the time we did get the money back, because he instituted a state law that once you have a certain budget as any police department in this state, you can never have a lower than what you were. It can only go up. And, you know, the people here love to point that, yeah, you know, you have a record budget. Great. You know, you could give us every dollar Sleepy Joe Biden gave to the Ukraine. You could give us the $140 billion or whatever we're now, you know, that we've given them. It's not going to put bodies on the street. It's not going to put cops on the street. You know, it's not going to do any of that. And that's our biggest thing, is that we need more people here, and we don't have it. And it not only puts the public at risk, it puts us as officers at risk. You know, it's, you know, we had this conversation. I said, look, I'm proud of this profession. I'm proud of what I do. Would I want any loved one of mine going into this? No. Do something else. You know, and you know, I read something recently that in Harris County, where Houston is, it's got a bad violent crime problem. Half their homicides were committed by people that were out on bond. You know, you should be behind bars. Well, you're back on the streets committing more crime. So, you know, the solution is that police, we've become sort of the Band-Aid for society. You know, we were supposed to be, you know, social workers, mental health workers, all of these things, and we were never meant to do all of that. It's just, it's too much to put on anybody's plate, yet we're the ones that are the ones that need to be doing all this. We're the ones that are taking all the blame for it. We're the ones that somehow, well, it's the police not doing their jobs, where for the most part we are. But we're one part of the justice system, and the thing is that, again, like I said, we can keep arresting people, and, you know, if you're not convicting them, if you're not getting people off the streets that need to be off the streets, if you're just putting recidivist screw-ups back on the streets because of this, they're somehow victims of society rather than they're people who need to be behind bars, nothing's ever going to change. And it's not only just Austin. I think Austin is one of the big, obviously it's Austin is, I hate to say petri dish, but Austin's shown that that's what's going on here. It's in almost every major city in the country. It's all the same thing. You know, they're all, most cities in this country are left-leaning. They have left-leaning judges, left-leaning DAs, and it's just this soft-on-crime approach, and we've seen that, it's turned cities into shitholes. I think the solution is, there, but the thing is, you need to have people to come in that want to do this job, and you're having a hard sell now. You're having a hard sell to have people come in to say, look, this is a job where you can be shot at, you can be killed, you can be seriously injured. This is the one thing I'll say is that, I work with some of the finest people that I've ever met. I work with some of the finest humans that I've ever met, and that I've been in the middle of things that, I'm glad those people were there. I've seen extreme examples of heroism, extreme examples of compassion and empathy and all of the positive human emotions that, that humanity has. But I've also seen a city that really doesn't appreciate any of that. And I think that that's kind of nationwide now where, the silent majority, they're not really the majority anymore. It's the silent majority supports you. Well, it's time for that silent majority to not be silent anymore. You need to step up because this country needs cops and it needs them desperately. And the more that you demonize this, are there bad? Absolutely, they're bad cops. I'll be the first one to admit they're bad cops. There are people who should not be wearing this badge. But the overwhelming majority of them are good people that, despite the cliche, they put their lives on the line every day. They know that when they go to work, might not be coming home today. And I experienced that personally. And I'm still here. I'm still doing the job. But, I think that, unfortunately, there is a large segment of society, a large segment of the population that's just really disconnected as to what's really going on in most cities. And the one thing I'll say to all your viewers, everybody that watches your channel, wherever you are, whatever city you live in, go fill out the paperwork and go on a ride out. Go sit in that seat with a cop and ride around, see what actually goes on in your city, the parts that you don't think exist, the parts that, I don't go over there, and see what they're dealing with. And go into it with an open mind. That's what I'll say, is just go into it with an open mind and really kind of see what America actually kind of is in some places. So, well, it's an honor, Nick. I've been watching your channel for quite a while, probably like the last 5 years, and the love of my life is from North Carolina, and she was here to visit me in Texas, and we were watching your channel, and I clicked on one of your videos about North Carolina, and you said that it was not a southern state, and she sat right up and kind of went, oh, no, he did not, and looked at me and said, that burns my biscuits. Her parents, her dad's got a southern drawl like a red-bone hound, but I mean that with the utmost love, and her mama makes the best chicken pastry and skillet cornbread in the South, so gotta say it's a southern state, brother.
Yeah, all right. That's fine.
Are you looking to move and need advice? I do consulting. That's right. I'll sit down and talk about where the next perfect place for you and your family should be. I do it all the time. Together, let's find you a new home that's safe and checks all your boxes. And I can also help you find your new house too. Email me and I'll work with you on not just helping you figure out where to move, but I can help you find your perfect home too. That's right. I know awesome, reliable agents all over the country, and I'd love to connect you to somebody who can help you search for that perfect home. Hey guys, if you learned something new about America or what it's like to live in America, great. You should think about subscribing and turning on your notifications. You can also click one of these videos or playlists for more.
This is Sage, Nick's manager. This has been a Corner House Entertainment production.